Rece, thank you for joining us. You got to be excited to get back to Tuscaloosa.
It's always great to come back to a place that you feel like is home to you. So I'm excited about it. I hope we have a great crowd for the show. I'm gonna throw out some challenges to them. And hey, look, when you do this for a living, I mean, everybody still cares about their alma mater, but it's incumbent on you to be honest and fair, regardless. And I'm not saying this just to stoke them up or to irritate the Alabama fan base. The best college game day crowd in the SEC, hands down, it's not close, is Tennessee. I mean, they've delivered every single time. And we've got guys, on our set who love coming to Alabama because of the hospitality, but they're like, oh, how are we going to get the crowd there? So I'm hoping that maybe the Alabama crowd will answer that challenge and hopefully have a great environment on Saturday morning for the show.
We certainly look forward to it. And for you, watching this Crimson Tide football team, obviously a tough week one against Florida State, but what have you seen in the response from Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide since then?
A remarkable turn because I'm going to be honest, after that first game, I was like, because I was really, really high on Alabama prior to the season. I think I've been on the College Game Day podcast that Pete Thamel and I do together, and in the preseason, I said if they get good, and I said I don't mean adequate, but if they get good quarterback play, I said I think they can win the whole thing. I think they're loaded. And now I want to give credit to Florida State. First of all, I think they're really good. I think they're obviously really improved, and I think they're legit. Um, but they took the fight to Alabama to such a degree that I came away going, are they soft? And I think they've answered that question by improving the execution in the 2 weeks following, and then they answered the question that they most certainly are not Saturday night in Athens. So there are going to be a lot of ups and downs in this era of college football, I think, and the days of just showing up and hammering people because you have more talent than they do, or maybe your culture is a little bit more ingrained than the others. Culture has become a year-to-year thing now, and in some cases, moment to moment. And I think the way Alabama has answered the challenge from both being disappointed in their performance in the first week, getting punched in the mouth the first week. I'm sure they've heard the doubters, but I mean, the doubts were fair. I mean, it was not unreasonable, the questions that people asked after that first performance, but also not unreasonable is to give them a lot of praise and give credit where credit is due for responding. And that's far more important than any initial questions or any initial disappointment. And I think they've been just terrific from the next moment on.
How much time have you spent with Kalen DeBoer? Did you do any game day shows when he was at Washington, or I imagine maybe a little bit of interaction last year? But what impresses you most about him?
Well, first of all, I think he is a great football coach. You don't win the number of games that Kalen has won without being a great coach. You don't take a program in your second year to the national championship game if you're not a great coach. You don't win two Titanic showdowns with Dan Lanning if you're not a great coach. You don't beat Steve Sarkisian in Texas in the playoff if you're not a great coach, and you don't win two games against Kirby Smart if you're not a great coach. I think Kalen's sensational. To answer the first question about it, is I didn't know him at all. I knew who he was, obviously, but I didn't know him at all prior to Washington. And we did go out there for one of the Oregon games and did it. And I made it a point. I went to practice on Friday morning because obviously not having any idea he would ever be the coach at Alabama. But I thought as long as this dude is in Washington, Washington's going to be legit, and I want to get to know him. So I got a chance to go to practice, talk to him, maybe occasionally have some conversations. But I think the thing that helped me get to know what he's about more than anything else is I spent part of that Washington Oregon game in what was that, 22, I guess, or 23, whatever year, no, 23. Yeah, in 23, watching the Washington Oregon game with a number of his former players from Sioux Falls who had made the trip as they did a few times a year, and I think they've been to Tuscaloosa too, to watch his teams and to support him. And hearing them talk about his attention to detail, the relentless competitiveness that he has, sometimes because Kalen is a friendly guy, I think that gets misconstrued, but you should never you should never mistake friendliness or being polite for not being tough. And I think all of those guys who've played for him at Sioux Falls, at Fresno State, at Washington, and now at Alabama, given the way they've responded this year, would tell you that this is a tough guy. I know he's a terrific coach, terrific offensive mind, and I think he's look, man, he's got a tough job. I mean, everybody has tough jobs. Roger, you and I have tough jobs. I don't like it when announcers go, and I've tried to take it out of my vocabulary, and it's probably because of that guy right there, Jay Billis. Talk about officials and say, well, everybody's got hard jobs, and that's true. But there is some outside pressure at Alabama. There are a few places like that in the country. And I think Kalen is learning to manage that and has learned and has made great strides in kind of understanding how to block out a lot of that and focus on his team and the results in the aftermath of the end of the last season and the first game this year have been very, very impressive.
Well, we're really looking forward to seeing how your crew diagnoses, how the Crimson Tide have played this year, and well, like we talked about the response. But how about telling the story of the other side for this game? The Vanderbilt Commodores off to a 5-0 start under Clark Lee.
You know what? Here's something that we think if we only and look, we're going to lean into it because it is theater, it's drama, it's fun, the whole payback, vengeance motif, But the thing they say around Vanderbilt, because of Diego Pavia, is, I think Diego likes to say, we turned. Well, Vanderbilt is turned, but they're also turned around. Well, what's at stake for Vanderbilt in this game really shouldn't be underestimated. I mean, they've won every game they've played by 20 points. I think they're right now already a team that you should be evaluating as a potential at-large college football playoff contender. What's at stake for them is announcing that and making it definitive. But they'll not only be that, they'll be a contender for the SEC championship if they win this game. Or oh, I'm even going to apply the same standard to Vanderbilt that I applied to Alabama last week at Georgia. It's not a must win for Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt doesn't win, they can still win the SEC. They can still go to the playoff. What it is for Vanderbilt is must play competitively all the way through and have a chance to win. And there is absolutely zero reason to think that that won't be the case based on the way they played and the way they played Alabama last year and the growth they've made in the program. If you watch the Netflix series and the Vanderbilt episode, it's really, really something to see. You look at it and go, this is not the Vanderbilt that many fans of a certain age grew up with. They're different. They're into this and they're going to make you fight, and they've got playmakers. And I think there's a lot at stake for Vanderbilt in terms of really announcing itself as a threat, a contender on the national stage. And I realize how foreign that sounds to a lot of people, but they've got a dynamic quarterback. They've got offensive weapons. They've got a defensive minded head coach and a defense that's been very effective and opportunistic. So, I think this has got the makings of just a tremendous game on Saturday afternoon.
And that's why we're glad that College Game Day is in town. Focusing on the show, how meaningful was week one and the proper send off you all had for Coach Corso at Ohio State?
I teased it throughout the show as something unlike you've ever seen in the history of Game Day. We'd never done the headgear pick at at midfield of a great cathedral like Ohio Stadium, let alone with what they call the best damn band in the land, spelling out Corso, people cheering for him. They played it over the Jumbotron. Even our colleagues and competitors at Fox picked it up and broadcast it as well before they kicked off the game, since they had the rights to the game. And it was a tremendous moment. It was fitting for a guy who has been as influential and impactful in terms of the popularity of the sport on television as anybody else. Now, people always like to watch football. I'm not trying to say that they only watch football because Lee Corso made them want to. But I do think that he was very, very much responsible for the idea that it was a day-long television endeavor, starting in the morning with Game Day and going all the way through into the wee hours and pulling it together, and him sort of following that mantra that he's instilled in everybody. It's entertainment, sweetheart. Football's our vehicle. And he's a tremendous guy. I've talked to him a few times, since that, and it was really a special and meaningful way to let LC see the appreciation not only from his friends on the set, but from the college football community as a whole.
Yeah, it's such a huge part of that show, not only in its past, all the way up to week one of this year. Now, as you all move forward, what excites you the most about Game Day's future?
The chemistry on the set, the dynamic personalities that you have everywhere. You've got the premier analyst in the sport and Kirk Herbstreit. You've got Desmond Howard, who's been with the show 2 decades now, right at it, who has a pedigree as a player that's unmatched. And if you watch Desmond and the film and the tape that he's done this year, I mean, he is an elite analyst and really insightful. He's unafraid. You've got the greatest coach in the history of the game, and you've got a force of nature who also is a superbly astute football mind and also unparalleled in terms of being able to feel the crowd and what's needed and connect with the crowd and Pat McAfee. You just got a great chemistry of people who love ball, who care very much about the show, who love entertaining the fans, who want to make not only the show on TV, but the experience for the people who come to the show, want to make it memorable for them. And we've done a lot of things this year to elevate that. Whether the DJ that we have, DJ Griff, we said, what if people could see him, hear him a little bit better? So we elevated his platform. Just little things, the commitment and attention to detail that people have given us the latitude to have with the show. It just makes it fun and exciting every day. But I will say this: the white suits that we broke out for the whiteout at Penn State last week, I don't think we'll be duplicating that anytime soon. There are no plans for any crimson suits, although I can't guarantee what Nick might do. I mean, I know he's got probably half a closet of various shades of crimson blazers. I don't know if he's going to do that or not. My guess is he goes neutral, maybe a teal, something like that. He likes to break out that teal suit every now and then. So, I don't. There will be no crimson suits or houndstooth suits or anything like that on the set Saturday morning.
Yeah, it's whatever Miss Terry picks out, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, speaking of Coach Saban, again, great to see him be part of the College Game Day crew. Last year, ends up getting a sports Emmy for it. You had to enjoy seeing him make that transition from being the coach that you all knew would be part of your show some in the postseason, but now a firm fixture on the show.
You know, I knew for a long time that he would be great. I did not know that he would be immediately extraordinary. I mean, he's the most gifted communicator I've ever seen. I've seen him speak to his team. I've seen him obviously on television. I've seen him do, boardroom type speeches. I've seen him in our meetings. I mean, he is, it's rare, man. I mean, to be able to condense and congeal lessons, moments, make it understandable and digestible in a powerful way. He does that as well as anybody in any walk of life that I've ever been around. I mean, from coaches to public speakers to preachers to you name it. I mean, this guy is as good as it comes in terms of being able to do that, and it's served him well. And obviously, he sees every single thing, when he watches tape, and it's just great to work with him. He's brought a something to our show that I think that very few shows in television, I don't think any show in college football has ever had, in terms of having that level of expertise and also recency and excellence on the sideline. You'll see some coaches that after a while they come in and they're great on TV and they can do all of these things. But when you combine his ability to execute the job with the fact that he is not very far removed at all from the zenith of his coaching powers, it's really been cool to have him as a part of our show.
Well, you guys do a great job bringing out the best in him every week, and we look forward to watching, especially coming up this Saturday when game day is in Tuscaloosa for Alabama against Vanderbilt. Rece, just thank you for being generous with your time visiting with us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Safe travels coming up later in the week. We can't wait to see you. Roll Tide.
All right, Roger. Thanks a lot, man.